Welcome to the Leadent Digital Podcast, the show where we explore innovation, operational excellence, and digital transformation in field service. We bring you insights from the brightest minds in leadership, business strategy. Today, we're honoured to have Clinten van der Meer, Senior Vice President and Head of Global Service and Project Management at Tomra Recycling, join us. With an MBA from the Australian Institute of Business, Clinten's background spans the recycling, security, and glass industries. His expertise lies in driving business transformation, process optimization, and cultural change within global organizations. Tomra Recycling is renowned for its sensor-based sorting technologies that revolutionize waste management and promote sustainability. At Tomra, Clinten leads a global team across more than 100 countries, focusing on delivering exceptional service and enhancing organizational scalability. His strategic vision includes ambitious goals such as achieving fully digital operations by 2035, aiming to redefine service delivery in the recycling industry. In this episode, we'll delve into the role of digital transformation in advancing field service operations, strategies for leading large-scale business transformations, and how to cultivate high-performing teams and drive operational excellence. Let's get started. Hi, Clinten. Welcome. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, thanks.
Good. Welcome to our Leadent Digital Podcast. We're really excited to have you on. Can you start by giving us an overview of your career journey and how you got into field service leadership?
Yep. So, thank you very much. My career has been built around a deep passion for operational excellence and customer impact. So I started in various technical roles where I learned the fundamentals of systems, people, and especially processes. So over time, I really gravitated towards service, and because of how transformative it could be, not just fixing machines, but really enabling our customer success and loyalty. So eventually I took on leadership roles where I could shape service strategy more broadly. Today, as SVP of Service for Tomra Recycling, I lead a global organization that focuses on delivering exceptional service outcomes across our install base. What's particularly exciting is that we're not just maintaining machines, we are really helping our customers to solve real-world environmental challenges by keeping material recovery systems running at peak performance. So one of the pivotal points in my career was realizing that service isn't just a support function, it's really a growth engine. That insights shifted my focus towards transforming service delivery through digitalization, more customer-centric type of models, and ultimately toward a bold vision that we set ourselves to be 100% remote up until 2035. And this will do while maintaining our role as trusted advisors in our industry.
It sounds like you've done a lot of learning over your career to date, but what have been some challenges that you've come up against that you've had to kind of overcome, and how have they shaped your journey?
Plenty. That's one thing I can tell you. I always have the saying that if service was easy, anybody can do it. But, one of the big challenges has been really shifting the mindset internally and externally in various organizations I worked for, that service is so reactive. And at Tomra, our team had traditionally been factory focused, but our customers needed more on-site presence, especially at the OEM level near our R&D and operations. But driving that cultural and structural shift wasn't easy, but it was essential to evolve toward a more customer-embedded type of models. Also, another key challenge that has been around our talent transformation. I also witnessed this in a lot of organizations I work for, and also when I speak to peers of other service businesses. So as we move towards more digital and remote service models, we all have to start rethinking on, the skill sets our teams needs for the future. So it is not just about the technical expertise anymore. It becomes about data literacy, communication, that proactive customer engagement, and it also means upskilling, reskilling, and sometimes hard choices on defining roles. I think the traditional way of hiring a field service engineer or technician is really changing. You really need to look at people with a lot more of, let's say, process-driven type of mindsets. But I think at the end of it, and personally, one of the biggest lessons has been around resilience for me. Really staying focused on long-term vision even when our day-to-day operations pull you in 100 different type of directions. But that ability to zoom out, recalibrate, and keep pushing forward has been crucial in shaping both my leadership style and the strategic direction of our service organization.
Again, I'm going to pick up on that kind of like driving performance teams because you're operating globally, and I'd really like to dig into that. But you mentioned a lot of change and kind of keeping resilient through all that change. How do you think digital transformation has sort of changed the way that field service operates in the recycling industry?
Oh, it is certainly transformative, and it's fundamentally reshaping how field service operates in our industry. And when I entered this industry now almost 3 years ago, I can see we went from more of a reactive manual processes and moving towards more predictive and insight-driven type of operations. At Tomra, we are really leveraging data to anticipate customer needs, and this also helps us to reduce unplanned downtime, and it also helps us to increase the uptime of critical material recovery systems, which is absolutely crucial for our customers. So this shift really is not only improving operational efficiency for our customers, but also strengthening our value proposition to our customers, who increasingly expect fast, transparent, and proactive support.
Yeah. And how do you ensure, there's all these kind of new technologies coming in and it's all very exciting, but how do you ensure that you're kind of doing that double edge of improving your efficiency whilst also improving that customer experience? How do you balance that up?
A very, very good question. And one of the things that I'm quite mindful of is, and also speaking to other service leaders, one of the things you've got all the best, greatest, latest tools on the market, but sometimes they don't speak to each other, and then you get the very skewed data. But what I've really done is we laid out a clear roadmap that really includes standardizing our digital infrastructure globally, also investing in advanced diagnostic tools, and also building our remote support capabilities into every stage of our customer lifecycle. So a key priority has been really integrating IoT platforms that allow that real-time monitoring and intervention. We're also training our service teams to adapt to these tools, because digital transformation is as much about people as it is about technology, for sure.
Absolutely. It's that kind of three pillar of people, process, tools, technology,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to make sure that they all balance. And talking about balance, it's that kind of, there's also the push for innovation, but again, that operational efficiency and cost management as well, because some of these things aren't particularly cheap. So how do you decide which one is going to be the one to go for or to push for first?
Yeah, we're running quite a few POCs at the current moment with different vendors. At Tomra, we have really great minds and people in our organization that want to develop things in-house, but we also have to weigh up that efficiency of bringing that to the market, but also looking at what's off-the-shelf type of product. And we're seeing some of this AI and automation that is really allowing us to move from that reactive to a predictive service type of mindset. And what is that allowing us to do? It's really helping us now to detect anomalies before they cause system failures. It also helped to automate some of our routine diagnostics and also continuously optimize machine performance. So I think IoT is certainly the backbone of this type of transformation, and it also provides the real-time data that fuels smarter decision making.
Yeah,
but I think if you really look at this, I mean, it's all about how do you do this efficiently while delivering higher value to our customers.
Yeah. I think we're seeing a lot of that kind of, IoT and automation is sort of prompting that switch to proactive rather than reactive. Field service traditionally very like, oh, there's a problem, let's go fix it. Whereas the IoT, the automation is sort of promoting that there might be a problem, or we know that there's typically a problem, so we can get in front of it. And is that something that you're kind of leveraging at Tomra?
We are, and in a lot of cases, and I think what is really important here is not just focus on what the benefit is for Tomra. I think it really starts with involving our customers early in that innovation process. And we are fortunate that we have got customers where we can test these ideas in a real environment and also gathering feedback continuously. I think this is really a big plus for us. We also measure that success not just by by KPIs like first time fix rates or cost per service event, but by customer satisfaction and perceived value, because ultimately, it's something our customers need to pay for in the future, but it's also, what is the value that they see from this offerings that we provide. So our real goal is to make the technology really seamless and to enhance that customer experience without adding that complexity. Because as I mentioned earlier, service was easy, anybody can do it. And because of that complexity, we're trying to really enhance that with technology to make the whole process more seamless.
Yeah, absolutely. And how have you seen, talking about very much the customer experience, and this is where we can differentiate ourselves through service. How have you seen customer expectations evolve across the field service sector?
Yeah, if you look at the industry we operate in, we have got really different types of tier segments in terms of customer base. You've got really some informal customers, but you also have got really big conglomerate customers. For these big conglomerate customers, it's all about process driven. It's all about uptime. It's all about how quickly they can get somebody next, or let's say support that process that is less downtime. More of the, let's call it the immature type of markets. You have got customers that really, when I pick up the phone, they want to speak to a person, and I expect that person to be next to the machine within 24 hours. So it's really a balancing act for us. So and how we do this is, from a customer standpoint, we're trying to balance our vision and pragmatism. That how we prioritize our initiatives that both helps our customers, but also helps us from a financial return point of view. So, but I've seen a big shift in this. This is, obviously customer perceptions change, customer viewpoints change sometimes on a daily basis, and what's working for them today might not be working for them tomorrow. But I think what's really helping us is to work with customers to embed some of this newer technologies to actually show them what it can bring, and also helping them in their operational.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. You just mentioned that you're working across the really diverse and massive operation, and it's about kind of ensuring that consistency in service quality. And if you've got some customers sort of up here with their expectations and their systems, and some customers not quite up there, that's quite a balancing act to juggle for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, it is certainly, and I think it's some of that when we talk about operational excellence, the biggest challenge is really aligning our own internal teams across regions, functions, cultures, and certainly around the common purpose and pace of change. So that business transformation isn't just really about introducing new tools, but it's also about shifting the mindset, breaking down those silos and building trust. But I think at Tomra, we're really navigating this by establishing a clear North Star vision, like achieving that 100% remote service by 2035, and then breaking that into small, tangible, relatable type of actions over the next couple of years. So we focus on transparent communication, how we empower our local teams, our leaders, and also celebrating early wins to build that momentum over time.
I love the idea of celebrating wins. That's really great to have, instead of just something that's driven out and this is your new system, go do. It's kind of, it sounds like you're involving everyone in it to make sure that it's really embedded and embraced and leveraged, I guess.
Yeah, there's no other way to do it. And as I said, I know of service organizations, an escalation from a customer gets all the airtime. It gets most airtime in most businesses, because that sometimes the escalation goes right to the top. But we're not very good at really celebrating some of those wins. When we do get good feedback from the customers as well as our own internal teams, we sometimes lack, in our ability to actually share that upwards as well. So this is really something that we encourage in Tomra, is to make sure that we celebrate the successes, but we also, if there's escalations, we have got teams available that can actually support that customer quickly.
Sounds great. And you touched again on the fully digital operations by 2035. Can you sort of describe what that's going to look and feel like? It sounds really exciting.
Yeah, so when I started with Tomra, I obviously evaluated, look at the market and look at how service is transforming itself, and I also looked at external factors that drive service industries today. And as we all know, the challenges that service face, especially with lack of skills, lack of workforce, the challenges of people traveling into certain countries with visa requirements, it's always there. But while our customers expect somebody, when they pick up a phone, they want to have that machine operational within 2 or 3 hours. Of course, we can offer that, but it will be extremely costly paying somebody to sit around on a bench waiting for a call to come through. So we are trying to see how we can actually bridge the gap. And, the only way to do this is by really setting your North Star vision. And I set this North Star vision to be 100% remote, meaning that we can be supporting a customer predictively in real time anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter if you are sitting in a coffee shop with your flip-flops on, fixing a machine. But this is how I envision this, North Star that we set ourselves. And with this, yes, it will change a lot of landscape, especially how we design our equipment for the future, because not having a person there to actually go in replacing components. So we're also looking at how we can actually empower our customers to replace components themselves, which will certainly be helpful for them, but also for us is to really make sure that we provide customers that 24/7 real-time support, that we can get machines running quicker. So it is a long process, and that's why I said it's a 2035 vision and not a 30 vision, because there's a lot more we need to do. And I think that, and one of the main things we first need to achieve is really how do we consistently provide a standard service offering. And I think the only way you can do this is by setting that clear standards, expectations, and also shared definition of what great service would look like. So we're building that foundation today through our global processes and digital tools. While we're also empowering our regional teams to adapt where necessary, to make sure that we have a smooth, seamless operation. But then also the next step for us is really training. How do we look at performance dashboards, having that cross-regional collaboration between customers as well as our services entities. But as I said, I think the biggest thing for us is really just build that strong culture around, where our teams are aligned in our values and what their operating environment would look like for the future. Yeah.
I do love the idea of this North Star, and everyone's kind of looking to the North Star for that guidance. We sort of started to touch on, I guess, the employee experience, and you're operating in over 100 countries. What would you say the key factors are in building that sort of scalable, high-performing, global field service team? There's a lot to think about.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier, is really just making sure that you have the right foundation through that global processes and making sure that you have the right tools to drive this. I think this is where we kicked off this year, is really just looking at building that foundation, having a good field service management system in place, and then using some AI operating tools to really help with that knowledge share. So I think that's for us is really crucial. Our next step through the journey and through the roadmap that we set ourselves is now to look at how we actually flow this further out to our customers, build those dashboards, what they would like to see, and really collaborate with them. But I think, as you said, I think internally it's really important to align ourselves and our business that this is going to be the new way of us working for the future. And I think that collaboration is certainly very, very essential in any service or in any organization, not just service.
Yeah. And would you say what were the if you can identify sort of any leadership principles or any sort of way of working that have guided you in driving that innovation and looking to that operational exercise, and what drives you internally, I guess?
I would say, as I said in my intro, I think what's really been driving me is just having the resilience and to keep on driving your North Star vision forward. I mean, there are really some tough days, really some days where you think that things are not working as the way that you should. But it's also important to really have a good support structure around you where people keep on reminding you of why you're doing this. So, yeah, I think for me it has been really important. I think And again, celebrating those successes. So, sometimes you feel like quite down, and then you get a fantastic feedback from a customer that this is working well, and that really lifts you up again. And then we celebrate it. But I think from a leadership style is cross-functional collaboration for me is absolutely important, because if you don't have the buy-in from the rest of the organization, you can't do it on your own as a service entity. But it's also that ability of really having good, proper storytelling. Making sure that you are influencing upwards, sideways, as well as downwards, to make sure that you achieve that goal. And I think that was some of the key takeaways for me, especially when I look at my own leadership style.
Yeah, and that shared vision ensures that you are all driving in the same way, and everyone knows where you're trying to get and what you're trying to achieve. And like you said, if you come across something that maybe hasn't worked how you thought it was going to do, you can just pick yourselves up and kind of go, right, we're still going this way, but we're not going to do it in that manner. We're still driving this way. Let's try something different to get to that goal. Yeah. So if you were going to share advice to, not everyone's going to be as advanced as you are in like the work that you're doing, but if you could give advice to other leaders who are looking to sort of future proof, who are maybe a bit further behind in this journey, or looking to start that journey, what advice would you give?
So I would obviously start with some of the customers' expectations that I see how they involve in the field service sector. I think as I mentioned before, I think there's a lot more expectancy from customers moving away from that reactiveness. They want to more proactive insight, faster resolution, and as I also mentioned, service that add strategic value. So, uptime is absolutely critical for any customer. So customers are really pushing for that predictive maintenance remote capabilities. I know there's a lot of businesses that's really moving towards this, but I've also seen a shift towards more of that outcome-based type of relationship. So they're not just buying the equipment, they're really investing in performance. And I see a shift change of providing as a service type of models. And I think this is maybe where service leaders really need to home in on, is the type of models that you have currently running in your service organization going to be effective? Will that be effective over the next couple of years? And then start pushing more towards that transactional interactions towards more of long-term partnerships. Because I always say service need to build up a good relationship with their customers so that we are seen as trusted advisors, but not just as technical fixers. And I think this is really critical. For people coming through the ranks, I also started through as a junior. I remember going through the ranks and always been seen as Mr. Fix-It. Things will get done. But I think for me was really just look at how can you make sure that you're not just here to fix things. You're really here to make sure that you build up that trusted advisor. And in some cases, customers said to me, listen, I only want to speak to that person. I don't even want to see a salesperson. So then you start knowing that you are becoming that trusted advisor to a customer.
Yeah. So it's that relationship building, customers are, as you said, I think, it's more of a partnership rather than a supplier. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's also so, and even in various service organizations, people like to set up a whole bunch of traditional type of KPIs. But I think success goes really beyond that, like uptime and response times. But, we looked at, adoption rates. What is that customer satisfaction and even employee engagement? I think that's also a very important KPI that we look at. But, are our teams using the new tools even effectively? Are our customers seeing the value? Because, and I think this is one of the biggest, let's say, unique selling propositions that we can provide to a customer is when one of our field service engineers actually go into a customer site and they can optimize a system that the customer can immediately see the value that this has provided. And that's really encouraging for us. But I think as we also measure progress against our long-term strategic vision, I think, when we look at the maturity of our remote service capability or the scalability of our digital platforms, I think it's really about tracking both the immediate impact as well as the momentum towards that transformation.
Yeah, and I think there's some key messages in there around, we're being a bit overrun with data at the moment. Data's coming from every angle, and it's about knowing what to track, what's important, And I think, that's another lesson that I think, if you're looking to do all this kind of digital transformation, it's really honing in on those KPIs, getting those fixed. And they can change, that's fine, but knowing what data to focus on, and how that's gonna, I guess, influence the way that the transformation progresses.
Well, so yeah, I fully agree with that.
Brilliant. So we're looking forward to 2035, but let's bring it back. What are your goals for the next sort of 24 months? What's the next 2 years got in store for you, Tomra?
My focus is really on accelerating the transformation of our service organization to really come into a truly data-driven, scalable, and customer-centric powerhouse. So what does that mean for us? That means continuing to expand our remote service capabilities, which is really will help us giving our operations more of a foothold in our service roadmap, and then also increasing our global footprint with more embedded OEM aligned type of presence. This is something that I also did over the past 2 years. I think a decentralization of our field service team was really critical for us, where we also started looking at having engineers more closer to our customers, which is really helping us, and also a competitive advantage for us at this stage. But it is, it's been challenging. But I think it's starting to pay off. And we're also investing heavily in the development of our people, on how we're shaping the next generation of our service leaders who can really think strategically, use this new type of models going forward, and act digitally, and also how we lead with empathy. So our big goal is to really move from pilot success to a sustainable global scale, whether that's in our digital tools, predictive analytics, or even our service delivery models. And we'll continue to push forward with our 2035 vision of being fully remote. And yeah, I think, with this real progression and made in these areas of remote diagnostics, self-service platforms, and also how we focus on smarter workflows, it's quite crucial. So yeah, it's quite a handful. As I said, we've got a proper roadmap, but also trying to be quite mindful to not overwhelm the organization, because day-to-day activities still can pull you in different directions.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like you're going to be really busy, but it's great to hear that you're absolutely mindful of the employee experience as well. So
Yeah.
not just to be fully customer driven and let's just do what's best for the customer. It's bringing everyone on that journey, making sure that it's not too much of a shock, because at the same time, like you said, they've got to still be able to perform their jobs, perform that service. So yes, it's good to hear that employee experience is front and center. And I think we're hearing a lot about that at the moment, that the importance of the employee experience leads to a better customer experience quite often.
Yeah.
Great. So I think we've come to the end of the formal questions. We've just got a couple of fun questions at the end. Are there any old school field service practices or tools that you kind of still secretly love?
So but I hope my field team doesn't know about it, but I think I still like a well-kept field logbook. So yes, it's quite manual, but there's something about that handwritten notes from a technician in the field, that shorthand and all that tells a story, which sometimes a digital tool cannot tell. So it really captures that human element of service, the observations, the instinct of a technician, and it's those little things that that normally doesn't make it into any system. So as you know, I'm a real big advocate for digital transformation, but I still appreciate the craft behind these old school habits.
No, that's nice. That's nice. It's kind of where we're all embedded, isn't it? The kind of the recording everything meticulously instead of ticking a box on a screen.
Yeah, it was, and it's quite interesting because, I look at them, speaking to some of my friends as well, when they have got a, group session where, they've got senior leaders as well as juniors in a conference room. You can pretty much see people taking notes, especially the seniors taking notes. But, the juniors just sit there listening to it, and, you sometimes think, how do you capture that? So it's quite interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're all starting to use AI tools now, aren't we? We're starting
Absolutely.
to join teams, and someone just takes notes and then sends you a summary afterwards. I mean, it's fantastic, because I quite often look back at my notes and think, What was that about? Okay, another fun question. What's the most unusual, unexpected field service challenge you've encountered?
That is a very good question. I would probably state that in one of the previous organizations I worked at, I got called out to a site where we shipped a new machine. So I won't mention this, but to one of the Middle Eastern countries. And as we open up the machine, we could actually, or let's say the packaging, there was, the system was completely rusted almost inside. So, and it was really a difficult customer. So what we've done is, what was really unusual about this was the fact that, we were in the middle of nowhere and we had to make sure that this machine gets operational. So we really did some old school tactics. We took some silica bags that we had and placed it on electronic components to dry things out because of the humidity inside this area. And, we cleaned some of the boards. So a lot more things that you normally would have to do. But, at the end of it, things worked and it worked pretty well. And I think the other day I spoke to one of my ex-colleagues and that unit is still operational on that,
Wow.
border post. So, and with minimal impact or anything. But, I think, and there's also some other stories where, they open up the machine and found that the machine is not there without any boards. So, some duct was sent. So, there's a whole array of stuff, especially when I worked in the aerospace defense industry.
Wow. So you still need that kind of that human element to be able to think, whoa, this is not what's expected. How do we navigate our way around this? Because we've got to get it up, we've got to get it running. What do we do? Wow. And it's still going. That's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So that's normally quite encouraging to see those type of things, and it's also great to see that some of our technicians really how quickly they think on their feet. It's not just come up with a problem, but they really find solution and ways to get a customer operational.
Yeah. And AI might not be able to do that because there's no previous record that it can reference, right? It can't go back into where's someone seen this before? What can I do if it's never been seen before? Hey.
Yeah, and I think I always say AI will never replace our technicians, but it will enhance the troubleshooting steps. It will enhance because sometimes they need to refer to the manual. And to refer to the manual, you've got 3,000 pages. But with AI, you can just slot in, this is what I'm looking for. Within seconds, it takes you to that page where that, on how to fix this. So that's how I'm seeing the efficiency from technicians, improving. But I don't see this as replacing technicians for the future. Absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely. And last question. If you had a magic wand and you could instantly solve one challenge in field service today, what would it be?
Very easy one. Knowledge transfer.
Yeah.
So the gap between our most experienced technicians and the next generation is one of the biggest hurdles I would say, in service today. So if I could really wave that magic wand and instantly capture the share and share the decades of know-how that lives in the heads of our veterans, that would be really a game changer for us. I think this is also where people see that wisdom is worth gold. And accelerating how we pass it down would be a game changer for us. But I think for any organization, that's probably, where people looking at that continuity, the quality and speed of that knowledge transfer.
Yeah.
But I'm also seeing AI helping us with that in some cases. So this is why we're also looking at how we actually can get that knowledge from our veterans.
Yeah, the AI. So, it's almost like, how do you digitalize that logbook or, whatever's going on in the brain? And also kind of, the virtual reality, the kind of the augmented reality rather, sort of having that knowledge base back at base or sitting in a cafe in their flip-flops, being able to help those juniors out in the field and, just passing that wisdom on without having to be out and about themselves. Fantastic. Thanks so much for your time today, Clinten.
Thank you very much for having me. Really appreciate it.
It's been really great. Thank you.
Thanks, Hank.
That was an insightful conversation with Clinten, and I hope you took away valuable insights on driving operational excellence and leading large-scale business transformations in field service. If any of the challenges we discussed today resonate with you, or if you're facing your own unique field service hurdles, we'd love to help. At Leadent Digital, we specialise in providing practical, effective solutions to help service organisations streamline operations, enhance customer experience, and leverage technology for long-term success. Let's keep the conversation going.